Welcome to this explainer on the ancient sacred Leela of Kaliya Mardhana. Today, we're going to really slow down, take a deep breath, and step right onto the banks of a sacred river. I want you to picture the rich, incredibly vibrant, high-definition tapestry of this ancient Indian setting. We're going to explore this timeless event through three distinct lenses: the epic narrative, its profound philosophy, and, surprisingly enough, a modern management framework. In her deep pool dwells the great serpent, exceedingly vile. Let's dive right into this dark mystery. Imagine the beautiful river Yamuna, which is usually this place of pure life and joy in Vrindavana. But suddenly a massive crisis hits. The waters have literally turned black and boiling. Birds flying overhead are just falling dead out of the sky from toxic vapors. The local cowherds, the Vrajavasis, unknowingly drink from the river and instantly collapse unconscious. The river is completely poisoned. And the source? An ancient, proud Naga king lurking deep in the darkest whirlpool. The stakes absolutely could not be higher.
Act 1. The Epic Narrative.
Right off the bat, the very title of this Leela holds a really crucial distinction. The word Kaliya connects directly to the Sanskrit roots for time, blackness, and poison. But Mardhana, that means crushing, subduing, or vanquishing. It deliberately does not mean killing. So the ultimate goal here isn't destruction at all, it's subjugation. So you might be wondering, how exactly did a giant venomous serpent end up in this sacred river in the first place? Well, it all starts with this massive act of arrogant defiance. Kaliya originally lived on an island paradise, but he decided to eat a tribute that was actually meant for the divine eagle Garuda. Hunted by an enraged Garuda, Kaliya fled for his life to the Yamuna River, knowing that a sage's curse prevented Garuda from ever entering those specific waters. So he used the river as a toxic safe haven. But then, seeing his friends lying completely unconscious on the riverbanks, the child Krishna takes decisive action. He climbs up this massive kadamba tree, spreads his arms wide, and with a joyful war cry, leaps directly into the boiling, dark whirlpool. The splash from Krishna's leap is literally like a mountain hitting a lake. Sensing this massive disturbance, Kaliya rises up, boasting 110 blazing hoods, and tightly wraps his coils around the small boy. The onlookers on the bank are absolutely terrified, but then the child expands. He makes his divine form so incredibly immense that the serpent's grip just shatters. Krishna breaks free, springs right onto the largest of Kaliya's hoods, and the entire scene completely transforms. Krishna doesn't draw a weapon. Instead, he begins to dance. A precise, rhythmic, beautiful, and absolutely lethal divine dance. Act 2. The Philosophy of Grace. Now, let's look deeper. In the Vedantic interpretation, the Yamuna isn't just a body of water. It represents the stream of our individual consciousness. Kaliya, the serpent, represents ahamkara, that unchecked ego that lodges itself deep down in our subconscious, poisoning our inner vitality and causing spiritual forgetfulness. And those blazing hoods? In yoga philosophy, they beautifully represent Patanjali's 5 kleshas, or afflictions, things like ignorance, ego identity, and fear. By stamping rhythmically on these hoods, Krishna is systematically subduing our inner afflictions. And here is the absolutely crucial philosophical contrast: Yuddha versus Nritya, war versus dance. Krishna specifically chooses Nritya over Yuddha. You see, in Indian classical aesthetics, dance is the ultimate integration of form, rhythm, and transcendence. The dancer channels energy. They don't just violently overpower things. This highlights the beautiful Bhagavata philosophy of grace. The divine doesn't just annihilate what is imperfect. Instead, it gracefully dances it into alignment. So as Kaliya's strength begins to completely fail beneath the immense weight of this cosmic dance, his wives emerge from the waters to pray for him. Kaliya then finally surrenders, but he asks a truly brilliant philosophical question. He basically says, "I was born a serpent. Venom is my inherent nature, my swabhava. If you created me this way, how am I to blame?" Just think about that for a second. It highlights a profound tension between our inherent natural tendencies and our personal moral responsibility. Krishna's response to this dilemma is just a masterclass in divine grace. He spares the serpent, but he completely expels the poison. He acknowledges the serpent's nature, for sure, but he does not excuse the toxic behavior. So Krishna commands Kaliya to leave the Yamuna forever, exiling him all the way back to the ocean. But, and here's the beautiful part, because Kaliya's hoods have now been marked by Krishna's dancing footprints, the eagle Garuda will never harm him again. The consequence is quite literally transformed into redemption. Act 3. The management lens. Believe it or not, almost every modern organization has a Kaliya profile. We're talking about that highly capable, incredibly high-performing individual who occupies a strategic core location in the company. Just like the deep pool of the Yamuna. Their output might be incredibly potent, but their day-to-day behavior is culturally toxic. Their peers actively avoid them. The damage they do is cumulative. They slowly drain the energy and enthusiasm of the entire team. And all too often, corporate leadership just accommodates them because confronting them head-on feels way too risky. This entire dynamic brilliantly illustrates the difference between typical corporate fear and actual, true leadership. Notice what Krishna does not do here. He doesn't send out a strongly worded memo. He doesn't form a committee to study the water quality. And he definitely doesn't just sit around waiting for the serpent to voluntarily improve. Instead, what does he do? He leaps in. He takes personal risk. He goes directly to the problem's territory. He stays in complete, rhythmic control under intense pressure. That's the dance. And most importantly, he sets firm, undeniable boundaries. Let's break this down into a highly actionable framework. Step 1. Krishna addresses the behavior, not the identity. He stops the poisoning, but he doesn't kill the snake. Step 2. He actually listens to stakeholders. The serpent's wives, the Naga Patnis, advocate for him based on his context, which teaches us to hear the voices of those connected to the toxic actor. And step 3. Krishna enacts a managed exit with dignity. Kaliya isn't publicly destroyed or humiliated. He departs with his identity and his family completely intact. But he's given a very clear geographic boundary, not this river. The result of this decisive, graceful action is instantaneous. The very moment the toxic accommodation ends, the Yamuna immediately runs silver, clean, and luminous again. The villagers revive. And, the data in modern organizations perfectly mirrors this. When a toxic, Kaliya-style actor is removed decisively and gracefully, the team's morale, retention, and overall performance don't just slowly heal over time, they recover almost immediately. Because here's the biggest takeaway. The biggest drain on the environment wasn't just the toxic person, it was the accommodation of that person. We've journeyed all the way from a breathtaking epic leap into boiling waters right to the boardroom dynamics of managing toxic high performers. As we wrap up this explainer, I want to leave you reflecting on this really powerful final thought. The serpent does not become a saint, but the saint has placed his feet on the serpent, Apindra Agnihotram. It's a beautiful, timeless reminder that true mastery lies in addressing toxicity not with destructive anger, but with decisive, transformative grace. So ask yourself, where is the toxic pool in your own environment? And are you finally ready to leap in? Thank you so much for joining me today. Keep learning, and I'll see you next time.